All right, all right. Happy Monday, April the 8th, Eclipse Day. I'd love to know if you're on the live stream, if you were in the path of totality, how it was. My hair frizz is in the path of totality right now. Anyway, I hope everybody is having a wonderful Monday. I don't know if I missed one or two Mondays. Did I miss two Mondays, Alejandra? Just one. It seems like two because my life flies by very quickly. So I want to update you on what's going on around here. We have been having some really great classes. So last Thursday, we had our first cooking class in Spanish taught by Elizabeth. It was fabulous. It went really well. We had great attendance and people were loving it. So we are definitely going to be scheduling more classes in Spanish. So be on the lookout for that, and we'll be scheduling those and posting those soon on our new scheduling platform. If you would like to find out more about classes and what's available in the studio here at Nourish Wellness, you can go to nourishyakima.com, and under classes and events, you can check out the schedule. But we do have a class coming up this Saturday that's going to be fantastic. So it's Introduction to How Foods Fight Diabetes. So this is just going to be a single class. You can just take a single class, not a series. We've already done the diabetes series, but a lot of people weren't able to sign up because we know how busy life is, and weren't able to come to all of the different sessions. And so this is just a single class for those of you that would like to just experience what it's like. It is a 2-hour class from noon to 2 this Saturday in the studio. And what's wonderful about these Food for Life classes is you're going to learn evidence-based education. So this is knowledge based upon research studies, like not just anecdotal stuff. So it's evidence-based nutrition education. Plus, you get to see the recipes demonstrated right in front of you. So cooked from scratch, plus you get to eat food. So it's like a triple win-win-win. It's amazing. The food is wonderful, and you usually leave nice and full and satisfied and excited to try your recipes at home. The series that we did went great, and the students did awesome, and they week after week were trying the recipes. But this is just a single class. And so this is one of those things that you can come and take the class, see how it goes, and then in the future sign up for more classes. But I definitely recommend it. If you haven't been to one of these classes, you will learn a lot, and you will learn some potentially life-saving information. I'm not exaggerating here. Like, this is real, because this can help prevent disease, but it potentially could even reverse some forms of chronic disease. So Saturday, noon to 2 p.m., Introduction to How Foods Fight Diabetes. Also, just want to remind you that we have memberships and packages available for the studio. If you are a member of the studio, it includes all of the regularly scheduled yoga classes, and we have yoga classes scheduled 7 days a week. And it also gives you a 20% discount to all the special classes. So for example, the cooking class on Saturday, you could get that for 20% off if you're a member. But if you're not ready to do the membership, or you feel like maybe I just don't have time to come every single week, and you want to buy a package, we do have packages that'll also discount the rate of classes. We have a 10-pack and a 5-pack. So definitely check those out. And then finally, we are still accepting new patients here at Nourish Wellness. We have plenty of space, so we'd love to have you. If you're interested, just call or text our number, and we can tell you how it works, how you can register new patients, and what insurances we have contracts with. And that's also available on our website as well, if you're curious. Okay, so let's talk about a couple of studies today. So hopefully this is not too much of a Debbie Downer, but I'm also going to tell you the things that you can do to avoid some of these things. So have you heard of endocrine disrupting chemicals? So you probably have heard that we shouldn't heat stuff up in plastics, and plastics can be leaching into our food, and there's other substances that can be coming into our food system, into our water, and that kind of thing, that could be causing us health problems. And the reason it's called endocrine disrupting is because it can cause problems with our hormones, so our thyroid hormones, our sex hormones, those kinds of things. So we really want to be mindful of this. And of course, just like things evolve, like, I mean, plastic was like a huge discovery, and it's allowed us to package a bunch of foods, but we didn't know when we invented it that it was going to cause all these problems, right? Like, we just weren't aware. So it's not like someone out there is just being evil, but now we're learning these things, right? And so now we can do better. And this study I thought was really interesting because it was a study of initially children, and then they became young adults. And so the actual blood tests and stuff were on young adults. So the name of the study is Associations of Dietary Intake and Longitudinal Measures of Per and Polyfluoroalkyl Substances. That's abbreviated PFAS in predominantly Hispanic young adults, a multi-cohort study. So this was published in March, I think it was March something. Why can I never? Oh, no, February 4th is when it was published online. February 4th in the journal called Environment International. So basically what they did is that they tested this group of young adults that were either part of the Children's Health Study from 2013 through 2018 or the NHANES study. And I think they put the time frame for that one too, but it was around the same time. It was pretty similar time frame. So what they did is that they asked them about their diet history. And we know that that's not always completely accurate, but you get like a history of what somebody's eating. And then they took blood tests to link what these participants were eating with the level of these endocrine disrupting chemicals in their blood. And so then they took that data and they tried to see if there were any correlations. And remember, correlation does not equal causation, but it can give us a little bit of an inkling of maybe some of the things that may be increasing our exposure to these endocrine disrupting chemicals, and what may not be, as high in those things. So what they found is, ironically, like, I wouldn't even think about this, but tea intake. And so when I was reading through this study, I realized that this tea intake, it's not like herbal tea or you're sitting down to drink your cup of hot tea. It's probably, and this is why I'm guessing that it has a high association, it's probably sweetened and unsweetened tea that you get in one of those plastic containers that you buy at the store. It's probably not the kind that people are making on their own, even though we know that sometimes teas themselves can have things that may, increase our risk, like heavy metals and things like that. There's ways so that we can decrease that. But this is for these endocrine disrupting chemicals, some of these which may come from plastic. So what I'm guessing is that this is the tea that you're getting from buying those big jugs of tea at the store. And probably some of those chemicals are being leached from the container. The other one was pork. So they found that pork intake was associated with these chemicals, as well as hot dogs and processed meats. We already know that processed meats in general increase our risk for disease. Okay. So this is not new. This is like literally so many studies that show this. So, what are processed meats? Are going to be hot dogs, cured bacon, salami, pepperoni, lunch meats. And so these associations, we know that these foods have a higher risk of cancer, so colon cancer specifically. So we've known that for a while, and it's because of the way that they're processed. But now we're seeing this association with the endocrine disrupting chemicals. So, however, the good news is, let me give you the good news, is that if these people were eating home prepared foods compared to eating out. So, especially a lot of takeout, because what they were thinking is that some of this is coming from takeout containers. So, just think about whenever you do takeout, a lot of times it's in plastic or in these like foam things, and they're putting hot food in there. Okay. So, it's like stuff we don't even think about, right? Like at home, we're trying not to heat stuff up in plastic. But if you're doing a lot of takeout, they're putting hot food in plastic. So that might be leaching into your meals. And so they found that if you're eating food at home, home prepared food, not takeout at home, so home prepared food, it was associated with lower levels of these chemicals. And the other thing was, if you're eating more fruits and vegetables, those healthier foods. And I'm trying to see, I pulled up the little graph. They have like this cool little um, graph that they made that showed what the lowest stuff. So like whole food, whole fruit, cooked grains, nuts and seeds, starchy vegetables, legumes. Those were all low on the list of association with the endocrine disrupting. The highest ones were sports drinks, tea, non-chocolate candy, pork, sweet condiments. That's interesting, huh? Sweet condiments. So specifically the sweet ones. So I'm thinking things like ketchup and barbecue sauce. Um, Also, nut and seed butters, which makes me think, because we had for a long time been doing the glass jars for our Adams, but during COVID, they had a shortage of those. So I started getting the plastic ones from Costco. So that makes me rethink that, because a lot of times nut and seed butters are in plastic containers. So anyway, just something to think about, and maybe make some changes there that are going to decrease your risk of endocrine disrupting chemicals. We also know that these endocrine disrupting chemicals may be associated with trouble maintaining a healthy weight, because they do get absorbed into our fat cells and can cause issues there. Okay, so the other one is a completely different topic, and this is the association between screen time and language development. So where is the study? Okay. So this study was published March 4th. That's why I had March 4th in my brain. March 4th in the Journal of the JAMA Pediatrics. Okay. And the title is Screen Time and Parent-Child Talk When Children Are Aged 12 to 36 months. So basically, this was a study that they were looking at kids. It was 12 to 36 months of age, a prospective cohort study. There are 220 families, and this was in Australia, I believe. Make sure here. Yes, Australian prospective cohort study. And it was 220 families, and they observed them at 12, 18, 24, 30, and 36 months. And they were able to kind of assess how much screen time they were getting. And then they associated that with measures of parent-child talk. So they found that increases in screen time were associated with decreases in measures of parent-child talk. And at 36 months, the largest decreases were seen, which was a reduction every additional 1 minute of screen time was associated with reductions of 6.6 adult words, 4.9 child vocalizations, and 1.1 conversational turns. So what that means is that the more screen time these children had, the less that they were talking and practicing that speech back and forth with other people in their environment. And they're thinking that this is caused because there's less interaction. So if you're just spending a lot of time looking at the screen, you're interacting less with your child, which is giving your child less practice. I know, as I've been going through my medical training, when I was going through my medical training, one of the things that we thought was the issue was that when children are looking at a screen, a lot of times they're seeing things like cartoons and stuff like that, where they're not seeing the lips match up with the words exactly. And so maybe that was an issue. But to me, it makes more sense that the more screen time you have, the less practice you're going to have, because you're just passively getting this, but you're not actually practicing it yourself. So that's a real thing. So we have lots of screens in our environment. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends that children under the age of 2 get 0 screen time. I feel like that's almost impossible right now in our modern environment. I know that when my 19-year-old, who obviously is 19, so 19 years ago, it was already kind of hard. I can't even imagine having a toddler in 2024. It's everywhere. Like, we didn't even have smartphones back then when he was born. So it's definitely now everywhere. And it's very difficult to avoid, but I would recommend doing the best you can and just spending as much time as you can talking to your child, practicing that, reading books to them, and having that TV, at least the TV off. Don't hand them the tablet, you know, at least until they're 2, and when they're 2, small amounts, just keep it to a minimum. And I know it's hard because we have a lot of stuff to do. We're busy, and it just makes a really good babysitter sometimes. Believe me, I know, but it can cause a lot of problems. And this is just one of the problems it can cause. And that is that language development in our little ones. And just think, the brain, they're just learning so much at that age. So if we are interfering with the language development at that age, I wonder if there's things that we could potentially be missing, that could affect other things in the future. So who knows? All I know is, let's keep that screen time low for all of us, but especially for our toddlers. Okay, so those are the 2 studies I wanted to cover today. Let's see if I keep doing this because I have lip gloss that got stuck to my teeth and it's very uncomfortable. Okay, any questions? Let me click over here. All right, Kate got 8. 7. Did you get a new account or did you change it? Okay, so Kate got 8-7 says, my kids love musicals and the songs stick with them. Audiobooks or podcasts are fun for listening. Yes, I think it's fine. And I just think don't have it on all the time. I think listening to musicals and singing, that's all great. And that can be part, especially because your kids are older. So that is not a problem at all. It's just that if we have something in the background all the time, or we're watching things all the time, then that can definitely interfere with things. But that is great. Okay. Any other questions? I don't think I had any questions come in from DMs, huh, Alejandra? Nobody has questions. Also, do y'all like these? Because we've been doing them for maybe 3 months or so. And I think I'm going to change my schedule a little bit to help me with my, life. I'm really busy. I need a little bit more time. So I'm trying to figure out if we should keep these or if we should move them to another day, if y'all like them. I know that not a lot of people can come live, but are you watching the replays? Do you want me to continue doing this? Do you find it interesting? If I don't hear anything, I'm going to assume that's a no, and we might stop them and do something different. If you think that there's something different that might benefit you more, might help you more, let me know. But I mean, I enjoy telling y'all about studies. I get to learn them too. So that's really fun for me. But I'm just wondering if it's worthwhile for you. So just let me know. I guess while I have some time, I have 11 minutes to get on a soapbox. There's something I've been contemplating recently. And I've talked about this before. I think I have actually 2 podcast episodes on this in slightly different versions. But the topic is the concept of natural. Okay, so, and believe me, I've been on both sides of the fence on this before I really started thinking about things and realizing some things. And everything is an evolution, right? So just like I said before, we learn things, we change, we develop. But what I have noticed is that a lot of times we may use this concept of natural to justify doing or not doing something. And I'm just going to bring up a common one, and this is supplements. Okay. A lot of people say, I don't want to take a supplement. I want to do what's most natural. It's great. It's your choice. However, I want you to understand what natural means. So, there was a time in our past where um, we were like literally just walking around with all kinds of things like parasites and deficiencies, but we weren't dead. Okay. So we weren't dead, but we weren't necessarily at our optimum. Right. So the human body is like super amazing because it's really resilient. And we can have infections, we can have deficiencies, we can have all kinds of things, and we can still live long enough to reproduce and walk around and do stuff and forage and do all that things, but we may not necessarily be at our optimum. So I want us to try to separate this concept of natural from optimum and thriving, because there's a lot of natural things that I don't think we would accept anymore. And one of those natural things is a high infant mortality rate, a high maternal mortality rate. I talked to my grandma. My grandma acted as a midwife with like zero training. Okay. Like she tells me these stories, like, because my mother, she grew up in the country with no running water, no electricity in rural Panama. Okay. I'm originally from Panama. So my grandmother served as a midwife, and she would tell me stories of all the women that just died. Like they're having babies, they just died. Like the baby would get stuck and they couldn't do anything. But we just wouldn't accept that anymore. We use forceps, we have cesarean sections. That is not natural. So just know that yes, we have to assess the things we do, and we need to determine whether we accept the risks and the consequences of our choices. But using the justification of doing things or not doing things because it is or is not natural, I would just want you to understand what that means. Natural does not necessarily mean optimization, does not necessarily mean you're thriving. It means you could die earlier. It means you could be living with deficiencies or disease. So, there's a lot of things that we do now that aren't natural, but we're not probably willing to give those up, like shelter and heater and air conditioner and clothing and my glasses, which I really enjoy being able to see, you know? So just something to think about, something to contemplate, and something to understand, that the way I look at it is, what are some things that we can do to optimize, to live longer, healthier, more joyful lives, to thrive? And thank goodness we have science and we have things now that can help us do that, because we didn't a while back. And so we died younger, we suffered more, we suffered a lot of discomfort, which could be a problem because now we're like having zero discomfort. So the pendulum swings, right? The pendulum swings. So it's just something to think about. And that's my soapbox for today. And really, it wasn't that aggressive a soapbox, okay? Like, that's just my stance on this whole natural thing, because sometimes I feel, especially on social media, it's used as this justification to do things, to not do things. But is that really what you want? I want you to really understand what it means. What does it mean to be natural? And maybe ask your grandparents, or if your great grandparents are still around, ask them what natural means to them. What does natural mean? Probably suffering a lot. I have so many stories that mom told me about things growing up in the country, which she loved it in some ways, but in some ways it was really tough, right? It was really tough. And that's just not what we experience anymore because of modern technology and because of the things that could benefit us. So let me just check back on Instagram. Let's see. Kate, thank you so much for all of the ideas. Okay, y'all. Well, I guess I will let you get on with your Monday. And I guess I have 6 minutes left. But the other thing, has anybody listened to the new Beyonce album? Because literally, I wasn't a Beyonce fan before. Like, it just wasn't my type of music. But this new album is amazing. Wow. Literally blown away. I can't stop listening to it. I'm obsessed. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Your thoughts on the eclipse. Did anything interesting happen to you during the eclipse? If not, I'm going to be disappointed because I need to hear some stories about this. Okay. So if something happened, let me know. Wolves started howling or something. Okay. Like I need to get some stories on this. So just let me know. I hope that you have a plantastic rest of your day and week. And we'll plan to be back next Monday at least. And then from there, we'll decide what we're going to do after that. So just give me your ideas, give me your thoughts, and have a plantastic Monday. Bye, everybody.